Three. Hello, guys. Welcome to yet another podcast interview video. And I have a very special guest with me today in the form of Komal Ahuja. She is an experienced copywriting and content writing freelancer with over 60K followers on LinkedIn. So we know her personal branding influence that she has. And she influences other freelancers, helps other freelancers to scale up their business, scale up their performance on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on all her social media profiles. So it's a pleasure to have you, Komal, on this podcast interview video.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Rahul. I'm glad to be here.
And so, jumping to the first question, I'm very excited for the first question that I actually researched about you on
Okay.
LinkedIn, and I found out that you
Okay.
are a professional dancer.
Yeah,
And then gradually, you found your love for content writing. So,
absolutely.
tell us about that journey of shifting into content writing and then finding your true love in that.
I've always been a dancer. Since I can remember, like, since I could walk, I think, I was always the kind of person who would go into the trial room as a kid and then dance there because of the
Right.
music and everything. So I was that kind of a dancer. Slowly, that love started building up, and I started training in more and more styles, international styles like jazz, hip hop, ballet, and
Right.
everything. And I
Right.
was dancing through that in school, in college. But what happened was, while I was dancing, I also wanted to do something else. So I started journaling, like normal tidbits of my entire day, how it went and everything. So
Right.
that's how I started writing. I had my love for reading. So I used to read books, like one book a month, not an avid
Okay.
reader, but one book a month at least. And
Right.
I was very fond of comics. So I used to read that a lot. After that, when I came in college, I was still dancing, but I also started exploring more options. I started doing content writing internships,
Okay.
just work from home internships through, Internshala on LinkedIn or something.
Right.
And that's how I began. Last year, when the lockdown happened, I was looking for yet another internship,
Right.
but I couldn't find any which could actually fulfill the kind of learning or the kind of exposure I was looking for. I'd already
Okay.
done 3, 4 internships, and I had some, basic information about content writing and everything. I
Right.
had a bit of my portfolio as well, but I wanted to explore more, and all that the companies were offering were the same things that I had already done. So I
Hmm.
thought, okay, people talk a lot about LinkedIn. Let me just try LinkedIn. Let me just see what happens. Maybe I can find an internship. So I
Right.
actually started out on LinkedIn with the perspective of finding an internship.
Hmm.
And through that, I just, attended a bunch of webinars to see how the platform works, what people do on that platform, started interacting with people, randomly
Right.
started posting content. And one day someone just approached me asking if I can write something for them in the capacity of a freelancer, and I said yes. So it
Okay.
was not intentional, it was not decided, but it just happened, and I didn't say no because I just wanted to see how it works. And
Right.
it happened for the best. So a lot of people say how 2020 was bad for them, or the pandemic happened for the bad, but for me it was a great experience. If not for that, I would not be sitting here talking to you right now. So
Right.
I guess I'm really glad that happened. And that's how writing actually came. Internships was one thing, but I actually found my love for writing through freelancing and through understanding that, okay, yes, one aspect is, writing. I love writing, but also I love
Right.
helping people who want to freelance, who want to venture into it, who are facing problems. Because along the journey, I've learned a lot of things, spoke to people, made mistakes, got fired by clients, fired clients after that. So that journey is quite good, and now I just want to help people navigate that, because it's such a good choice. It's such a good choice to freelance. So that's how it just happened.
That's an amazing journey, I would say. And I also generally believe that good careers are formed out of unintentional things that happen along the way. And for most of us, most of the people who are watching this video, they might actually relate to this unintentional thing, and then they found their true love. So that's pretty amazing. And one thing, like for the audience who doesn't know about freelancing, who is not aware about freelancing, would you like to highlight that what actually is a content writing freelancer? What does he or she do so that they get aware?
Right. So, just talking about freelancing, that's basically a capacity in which you work when you don't have to answer to anyone else. So you're
Right.
basically working for yourself and by yourself.
Right.
So you do everything right from, getting clients, making your portfolio, working for them, marketing your services, filing taxes, managing finances and everything. Unlike a job, there's not a fixed set of responsibilities that you have or a fixed set of paycheck you get every month and a
Right.
fixed person you need to report to. It's a little uncertain, it's a little bumpy, there are a lot of potholes which you can fall into, but I mean
Right.
it's pretty worth it, it's a fun experience. And content writing is, everything that we see right now. I mean, from the Netflix description that we see before we watch the show to the
Right.
packet of chips that we're eating, the description of that, everything is content and copy. So I mean,
Right.
it's a part of our life, and everything which comes in the form of content, be it digital or traditional, that's
Right.
content. So I mean, that's a
Right.
lot of scope there. There's a lot of formats there, blogs, social media, podcast scripts, a lot of things. All of that is content. So I mean, yeah.
Yes. Yes. So that's a great answer. I hope it made people aware about the concept of freelancing, the concept of being a content writing freelancer. And
Right.
this is one question that I always tackle from a lot of freelancers that, should we go for a job or should we do freelancing? So, taking your perspective, that why didn't you, actually go for a job and you chose freelancing? I know it's unintentional, but then at the back of the mind, this question would have arrived in your mind.
Right. I think that kind of a question happens in everyone's mind because on one side you want the safety that a job offers,
Right.
and on the other side you're just scared. Okay, how will freelancing work out? Will I be able to earn enough? How much work will I have to put in? Because a lot of people have misconceptions about freelancing. Okay, you work 24 hours. Okay, you work from your home. Okay, how
Right.
is that done? Okay, the fee, the pay is uncertain. How do you earn enough money to survive a living and all of that? There are a lot of questions, but
Right.
I think both of them are completely different. A lot of people say that okay, freelancing is better than job and everything, but I don't think that that's the right way to compare, because job, business, freelancing, all of them are completely different. All
Right.
of them have their own pros and cons, and I think to actually decide what you want to do forward, you should definitely experience the three of them, or at least job and freelancing, to decide what you want to go forward with. After
Right.
I did an internship, I immediately ventured into freelancing. Maybe one day I want to do a job and then venture into freelancing again. I mean, it's
Right.
all about experience, about exposure, about the kind of person you are. Because I know a lot of people who can't freelance. They
Hmm.
like that kind of security. And I know
Right.
a lot of people who can't do a job. They don't like that kind of restriction. So, I mean, it completely depends from person to person, but you need to be able to experience to finally decide what you need to do. Is it freelancing? Is it job? Experience both and then decide. So that's what
Right.
I would say.
Right. So you're saying we can't actually, it's not correct to compare all of these because
Yeah,
these have their own experiences in their own way.
definitely.
And in order to find that right answer, you need to actually experience and then know, because it's quite subjective. That's what
Right.
I also feel, that it's
Mm-hmm.
quite subjective. You might think that you're not made for job, but unless you do it, you won't be able to realize it. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
one valuable insight
definitely.
out of it. And next is, a lot of people are doing a job now. Along with that, they want to do freelancing. So what's your take on it? Do you think that's a good option because you have experience freelancing? So can it be accommodated along with the job?
I think a lot of people start freelancing as a side hustle.
Right.
Maybe someone wants to try something different, or they want to eventually start their own business and they want to start out small by
Right.
freelancing. So a lot of people started as a side hustle, and I think that's a great way to do it. But it requires a lot of commitment because you're
Right.
working alongside, and you may have to work weekends. You just have Saturday, Sunday off, or maybe just Sunday off. And if you
Right.
take up freelancing work, you'll have to work on Sundays as well, after your office hours, before your office hours. So I mean that's a lot of commitment. So if anyone wants to try out, freelancing as a side hustle along with a job, then I think they should definitely go for it. But they should definitely plan for it. Otherwise, it can become a mess, and
Right.
then you'll be like hanging in between. The job is not working out well, and freelancing is also not getting the returns that you
Right.
expected. So I mean, it just requires a bit of planning, but it's definitely possible. And I mean, I'd highly recommend it, because if you eventually want to transition into freelancing or starting your own business, then I think
Right.
leaving your job just like that and then coming into freelancing is a little risky business, because
Mm.
if you're already earning something and then suddenly venture into freelancing takes a bit of time to set and a bit of
Right.
time to form the initial foundation. So I mean, starting it along with a job would be a better option. And then when you're confident that okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I enjoy what I enjoy doing, then you can definitely leave your job and then go ahead with freelancing. So I mean, it's a
Right.
little risky, it requires a bit of planning, but it's possible, and you know, it can work wonders. I've seen a lot of people do that and it definitely works.
Right, because then you will get both the experiences in a short span of time. However, as you said, requires a lot of commitment, a lot of planning. So if you're ready for that, then you should definitely go for it. If you're thinking about this and you're confused whether to go or not.
Right, right.
And also a lot of people, even on LinkedIn, even on all the other platforms, who are doing a job, who have been doing a job, they think that freelancing is pretty easy. Being a freelancer is no big deal. However, I know the kind of efforts that a freelancer has to put in, and I generally want you to bring out that aspects or those aspects of freelancing. So, would love to know what were your struggles. As you said, you were fired and everything. You experienced those kind of things. So, what were your
Right.
major struggles in your journey that you would like to highlight and let people know that this is what being a freelancer is.
So, I mean, like you said, a lot of people think that it's easy because you
Right.
have no one to report to and everything.
Yeah.
But it's actually very uncertain because you don't know what you're supposed to do. You don't know which paths you're supposed to work to. You don't know if the efforts that you're making right now, you're
Right.
spending 8 to 10 hours on it every day, if it's going to show you the results that you actually expect. So, I mean, it's a little bumpy road. It's an uncertain road. There are a lot of ways to go about it, and you just pick
Right.
randomly one road. So, I mean,
Right.
it's very uncertain. So, that's the first thing. That's the first thing freelancers face as a challenge: uncertainty. They don't know where they're headed, how they should go forward, how will they earn the amount of money that they're actually willing to do. So I mean, that's the
Right.
first thing. Apart from that, generally it's really difficult in the beginning to build your portfolio. You don't know how to actually build authority, start doing that, then how to generate leads, how to get clients, how to actually get them to pay the price that you're actually quoting.
Right.
Having that kind of uncertainty that okay, if am I overcharging or am I undercharging? Will the client actually pay me the amount of money that I've asked them, or will they just cheat on me? So I mean, that's a
Right.
lot of uncertainty that freelancers have. Apart from that, of course, the competition is high in every field. So I mean, so is in freelancing or content, digital, whatever it is. So I
Right.
mean, hovering over that kind of competition and establishing your authority is another thing. It takes a lot of time to build your personal brand or build authority so that clients start reaching out to you, they start trusting you, and you can actually put your lead generation on auto machine and actually move forward.
Right.
Then I think it's all about time management. A lot of times I face I face a lot of problems while managing time, working for clients, paying attention to my studies, paying attention to things happening in the family, in my personal life, and then
Right.
managing finances, because that's completely new. You don't know, okay, so much money is coming in, you have to file taxes on your own and everything. So, I mean,
Mhm.
that's a lot of responsibility: marketing your services, pricing, working for the clients, managing projects, doing your personal projects. So, I mean, the list is never ending. And I'm pretty sure even job has its own challenges. But the biggest challenge with freelancing is the kind of uncertainties has, because every challenge that gets thrown at you, it has to be handled by you and you solely, because you don't have anyone backing you up. Of
Right.
course, you can get a mentor. Of course, you can talk to other freelancers. Building a network, talking to them helps a lot. But in the
Mhm.
end, you're the person who's going to solve all those problems. I
Right.
did get fired by a client. I fired other clients. I mean, that's the kind of journey you go through. You learn from it, and then you decide, okay, this is the way I want to move forward. This is how I want to do. So, I mean,
Right.
since I've spoken to a lot of freelancers over the past year, I've given consultation calls to a lot of them. What
Yeah.
I've also seen is a lot of freelancers are very hesitant about trying.
Mhm.
They feel it's very risky to try, it's very risky to take such a step, or maybe it might come out as too desperate, or it might come out as too needy or
Right.
too salesy. So I mean, those are a lot of things that you need to take care of, and I mean, you have to take a jump, a leap of faith, and because that's how it actually works. So I
Right.
mean, those are some challenges that a freelancer generally
A
faces.
lot of
It's not
challenges.
easy. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy. But I think once you go through that initial phase of starting out and figuring out things, after at least 6 7 months, things start to get a little better, a little settled down, a little, you have a sense of direction. Okay, this is how I want to go forward. This is what I should not do, definitely, and this is
Right.
what I want to do. So I mean,
Right.
that kind of experience is important, so you can actually decide, okay, this is how I want to take it forward.
Definitely.
So
And
yeah.
after hearing this, I am sure that none of the uh, people in the audience will actually take freelancing for granted. That's for sure.
No, definitely.
And we
I
should
mean,
not,
I
and people should not. Yeah.
when I started out, I thought, okay, freelancing, okay, that must be like easy. What even I get work, I do the work, I submit the
Yeah.
work, and I get money.
Yeah.
It's not that. I mean, it's so much work. And in the beginning, it was actually very difficult for me to explain to my parents what freelancing is, why I'm doing it, will it get the results, that I actually expect or they expect. Because
Right.
content writing was at its peak when the pandemic started. Before that, it was still there, but
Hmm.
not a lot, because after the pandemic, a lot of businesses decided that okay, we want a digital presence, and for
Right.
that, content was needed. So I
Right.
mean, that's how content actually, it saw a rising graph and it soared like nothing. So I mean,
Right.
there are a lot of aspects you consider, but freelancing is anything but easy. So yeah.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And now, coming to the content writing part, because you have been experienced in that. So, how does a content writing freelancer who's just starting out choose his or her niche in content writing? So, what is your take on deciding upon a niche and then being consistent with that particular niche in freelancing?
So I find, talking about a niche very contradicting and very debatable, because
Right.
I personally feel that I've got a lot of questions like these. But
Yeah.
what I generally feel about choosing a niche is that you don't have to worry about that in the beginning.
Hmm.
Choosing a niche is like restricting yourself to one thing, and unless and
Right.
until you're 100% sure that this is what you want to take forward as your specialization, for
Right.
that you need to try other things and then decide if this is what you want to do. In
Hmm.
the beginning, when I started out, the first couple of articles or the first couple of content write-ups that I did were in the lifestyle niche, and I liked
Right.
them very much. And I was like, okay, that's great. I'm just going to write for lifestyle. That I just decided that, and I was like, I am going to write only about lifestyle. Slowly, I
Right.
started getting more projects. Mental health, technical writing, and travel, marketing, beauty, skincare, fitness, all of that. And
Right.
I actually was very, very amused by the fact that okay, there are so many niches, and I just decided that okay, lifestyle is what I'm going to do. Right
Right.
now, I specialize in marketing. I mostly write about marketing. That's my niche. But I decided that 1 month back, after 9 months of writing for different niches. So I
Right.
mean, starting out, don't focus on one niche is what I would say, because you don't want to restrict yourself to that kind of exposure, that kind of experience. Some
Right.
people don't ever decide on one niche because I mean, diversity works for them. Some
Yes.
clients even like you having experience in different fields, writing for different niches. Of course, a specialized freelancer, a specialized writer has a lot of advantage. They can charge premium services, they have a specialized portfolio and everything, and that's great. But I
Right.
mean, in the beginning, that should not be something on your mind. You can probably figure it out a bit later. You don't have to find a niche. Let that niche come to you after you experiment a bunch of things. If
Right.
I would not have experimented between niches, I would never know that I hate technical writing. I mean, I really don't like writing for it. And that
Yeah.
was after I tried it. So that
Hmm.
was something I didn't know that, okay, I don't enjoy doing that. So now if I get any project related to that, it's not that it's out of my comfort zone. It's I don't enjoy writing for it. I love
Right.
writing for marketing. And that's why I chose it. Like I was generally so, interested about writing for marketing that whenever I got such a project, it was not just Google I did research for. I interviewed people, I carried out surveys, I read books for that, I watched YouTube videos, I listened to podcasts, because that was the amount of love I have for marketing. And so
Right.
I figured that okay, I should write more about marketing because I also accumulated a lot of knowledge about it. So I
Yes.
mean, let the niche come to you. It's not something that you should prioritize or think about in the beginning. Let
Right.
yourself experience a bunch of things, and then along the way, maybe then you can decide that okay, this is one thing I want to do, but only after you've tried experience writing about different niches.
Right, right. You have given a new perspective to a lot of people here, because a lot of people think about niche while starting out because they think that they'll get confused
Yeah,
or anything. But it's same as like deciding to go for a job or freelancing. You need to experience both things.
definitely.
You need to experience all your niches and then decide that what suits you and what not. So
Right.
that's a very valuable insight right there. And now coming to the main question when it comes to content writing. uh, like almost 99% of the freelancers have this confusion that how much to charge,
Right.
especially initially when they're just starting out. because they're not sure about the kind of competition that exists. They're not sure about what other freelancers are charging. So is there a fixed formula? Is there, or is it subjective, or what is your take on that?
It's definitely subjective.
Right.
The basic factors which determine the kind of charges you should have is basically the amount of experience you have, the kind
Right.
of portfolio you have, the kind of knowledge you have about the particular skill.
Hmm.
How much do you know about it? How can you convince clients if you are the right person for it? And all
Yes.
of these, and then the scope of the project that you're getting, and how much time it requires you to invest, how much research will it require, and all of these factors clubbed together, actually determine the pricing that you're going to give. What I
Right.
generally recommend to freelancers starting out is that definitely try to inculcate, or actually involve a lot of different, for example, I tell that to writers, try to include a lot of content formats, don't just stick to blog writing and everything. So this is
Right.
how I tell them to create a rate card from the beginning. So a rate card
Hmm.
is basically through which you can have fixed price, a fixed standard price. Of
Right.
course it varies with the projects that you get, a fixed
Right.
price for each of the service you're offering. So blog writing, email copywriting, social media posts,
Hmm.
yada yada yada. Based on
Right.
that, you just create a rate card for yourself. So I mean, that is how you can actually see, okay, this is working. After you start working with a bunch of people, you'll see the kind of response you're getting. Someone might
Right.
tell you this is a bit overpriced. Someone might tell you, okay, you're maybe undercharging, and then they're fine with it. Like whatever it
Hmm.
is, you'll have to actually experiment and see how it works. But
Right.
what I generally tell writers, specifically writers, is that you should not charge below 1 rupee per word, because that's like the minimum that you can get, the
Right.
minimum for the amount of time and the amount of research and the amount of effort you put into the project. Because
Right.
what a lot of freelancers do is they charge just for the work that they do.
Hmm.
Freelancing and working in a project is not just about working particularly, the kind of work that you're submitting to the client. It's also about closing the client, spending time communicating with them,
Right.
attending meetings, understanding their briefs, doing edits for whatsoever, sending invoices, follow-ups, and all of that. That is for what you're charging for, not just
Right.
for the work that you're doing. So that's a mistake a lot of freelancers do. And also in the beginning stage, I would highly recommend talking to a freelancer, talking to someone who's in that niche, be it a digital marketer, an SEO consultant, social media
Hmm.
marketer, content writer, copywriter.
Right.
Probably talk to them, ask them, okay, this is the the pricing that I've set. This is the experience I have. This is the portfolio I have. Do you think, am I overpricing or underpricing my services? I want to start reaching out to clients, but before that, I just want to see if my pricing is set right, so that
Right.
I know that, okay, I'm headed in the right direction. So I
Hmm.
mean, through that you can actually get an idea. And after a point of time, after you start working with people, you'll automatically realize how it works. You'll automatically realize if you're charging less, you can start increasing your prices. Or if you're
Right.
charging more, then you can probably add on a few services, offer a 10% discount. Then you
Yeah.
understand how you can negotiate. So I mean, pricing your services has a lot of factors, everything from experience portfolio to how you can communicate it to the client. But I
Right.
would say before beginning, just establish a rate card, and
Hmm.
start with it, so that you have an idea, okay, this is the standard, the minimum fee that I want to charge. And
Right.
post that, I'll just it'll just vary based on the requirements of the project. So
Hmm.
based on that.
Nice. So, like deciding upon rate card and actually networking with freelancers is the key. So maybe
Definitely.
reaching out to experienced freelancers like you, booking consultation calls will actually help newbie
Definitely.
freelancers to actually decide where they are heading. Are they heading in the right direction? Because even a week's time that you might be wasting is a very precious time in terms of freelancing. So,
Yeah.
valuable
I mean,
insights.
I've seen a lot of freelancers who undercharge. They've been
Yeah.
working for low rates for a long period of time, and then
Right.
not, and then they talk about not earning enough. I mean,
Right.
that's the kind of thing that you actually should do in the beginning. Probably talk to a freelancer in between, because you're spending so much time in doing all of that and earning very little for it. So I mean,
Right.
if you're investing time, you should probably get the return for it as well, not in just monetary terms, but also in terms of satisfaction and everything along those lines. So I mean, it's
Right.
not just about money, but also for getting paid in terms of appreciation, in terms of acknowledgement and everything. So I mean, all of
Right.
that needs to be clubbed when you're quoting your price. So I mean, a lot of factors have to be taken in place. Also, I mean, there's no specific, one size fits all formula for all freelancers to actually calculate, okay, this is the price that I should quote. That also comes with
Right.
experience. As you start charging people, as they start responding to it, you'll definitely realize, okay, this is what I have to do. This is how I can frame packages. I can club my services together. I can offer a 10% discount. I can
Right.
offer just consultation instead of execution. A lot of things come into play after that. You start realizing. So I mean,
Hmm.
it's just a part of the process.
Right. So that's definitely there, and it also disturbs the balance because if you are charging 0.3 paisa per
Yeah,
word, then clients start having that those expectations that that particular freelancer is charging
definitely.
0.3, so you don't deserve 1 rupee. So
Yeah, yeah.
that is another disadvantage that you are doing to yourself in
Right,
indirectly.
right. But yeah, definitely. If you're charging 1 rupee per word, it definitely has to be that okay, you need to have knowledge about it. So
Right.
before you start charging, before you're ready to start freelancing and earning, I always recommend freelancers to give themselves at least 2 months to maybe, get set into motion, or probably, read up more about it, probably build that portfolio, because that is really important to convince a client that okay, you're worth the money that they're investing. So if you're
Hmm.
going to charge 1 rupee per word, you should have a good portfolio. You should have a good presence. That's
Right.
those are some things which are not very difficult to achieve. Building a
Hmm.
portfolio, you can publish an article, thrice a week, and that will add on to your portfolio. You start
Right.
networking with people. You start connecting with people. You start building a relationship with people. Start building a presence, and then you start charging for it. So that you
Hmm.
have a base to support you. You have a base, or you have something to justify your prices. So I mean that's
Right.
much better than working at low prices for a long period of time. So I mean, that's what I feel.
Yeah, amazing. So I guess that also clarified the major question that what charges should be there when you're just starting out. And in the long run as well, you should have a rate card, consult other
Definitely.
experienced freelancers, then move forward. So quite valuable insights there. And then
Mm-hmm.
we come to the next question that I've also heard from a lot of freelancers that they submitted the article. After that, the client didn't pay back. So
Yeah.
there clarifying terms with the client when you're taking on the project becomes very important. So what are your recommendations as to what should a content writing freelancer clarify with the client before taking on, let's say, writing an article or a social media post or anything in that sense?
Right. So I think one thing that I always say is that before you start a project, you need
Right.
to see if the client is authentic. How do you see that? By actually identifying red flags.
Hmm.
Any minor red flag that I see while communicating with the client, that's a no for me to actually move forward with them. So, what I establish are some rules when I get on the call with them. It's just talking to them, understanding their requirements, understanding, what the kind of requirement that they have. The slightest of red flags, like, okay, we're not ready to pay you advance, we're not ready to sign the contract, we're not ready to get on meetings every week, or whatever it
Right.
is something that's a turn off for me, and then I don't
Hmm.
go forward with that project. So these are some red flags that you need to watch out for. If they're
Right.
not ready to pay in advance, don't start the project. If they're not ready to sign the contract, move on from that client. So I mean, those are some
Right.
things. Apart from that, to avoid the chances of getting cheated on, or not getting paid, definitely have a contract. I mean, that's one thing that's mandatory for me, as part of the onboarding material for the client. There's definitely,
Right.
as part of my onboarding material, I have a proposal which mentions on
Okay.
the deliverables and the quote I have for it and everything, the processes I follow. It has a Google
Right.
form which through which I understand the client's requirements. There's a contract, and then there's an invoice. So I mean, these are
Okay.
the 4 things which are wholly to my process, and they actually add on a lot to making the process more authentic, more more
Right.
professional. So I mean, starting a project without a contract should not be an option, it's a need. So I mean,
Right.
before you start a project, you can just draft up a contract. It does not have to be very all that lawyer language and everything. It can just be a simple contract which just mentions your terms. It can be just made on Google Doc, or you can find templates online.
Right.
My contract just generally mentions that okay, this is my name, this is the client's name, these are the deliverables, this is the agreed upon fees, and a few extra terms that I have, that okay, if you end the project before the timeline, then you'll have to pay in advance. If there's any international fee and if there's any conversion fee, you will have to handle it. These are my
Right.
working hours. I do not take calls and emails after that. I require a 50% advance. This is the date before which I should receive the advance, and this is the date before which I should receive the whole payment, the rest
Right.
50% of the payment. So, I
Right.
mean, those are those are the few clauses that I generally include, and a couple of more, depending on the project and depending on the kind of agreement that I and the client had.
Right.
So, I mean, having just a basic contract is also fine. You can get it signed, using, there are a lot of tools you can use to get it signed virtually. So, I
Yes.
mean, draft up a contract, make everything legit, and then, then go forward with it. Because although even after a contract, I've heard a lot of people, just cheat and go on. But I
Right.
mean, it reduces the risk of doing that. So
Hmm.
you can never really be sure of it. But
Right.
I mean, just trust your instincts. And if there's one thing that you can do to prevent the chances of that happening, it's a contract. So I mean,
Right.
a contract and an advance payment. So those are two things that you should definitely do.
Right, right, and like you should get everything in written writing. That's the main crux, that through a contract, or
Yeah.
and many people have this, that a contract has to be very extensive, like you talk, like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
mentioned.
No, no, no.
It can be a single document, single page document, or two
Yeah.
page document, and you can draft it on your own. There are templates available online, so
Definitely.
uh, you may not give it a contract term as well. Say it as a written
Yeah.
agreement or a document, anything you want to say, but it's
It
just
just
a
can be a letter of agreement. I mean,
yeah.
my contract has the header letter of agreement. I mean, I just call
Right,
it a contract, but it's just a letter of agreement. It's just two people agreeing that, okay, this is what we decided upon, and this
right.
is what we'll respect on both
Hmm.
sides, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So, I mean, it's a security for the client and it's a security for you. So, I
Right.
mean, yeah,
Because clients also forget that, they agreed to these terms. So you have something to refer to, that boss,
yeah,
this
exactly.
is what we signed, and this is, I'm going according to that.
Yeah,
So I hope it clarified.
definitely. And yeah,
Yeah. So I hope it clarified a lot of things for freelancers watching this. So if you're not making contracts or documents, start making that, and start asking for advance, because you deserve that, first of all, and second, it will give you a surety of the kind of work and the effort that
definitely.
you're going to put into that particular project. So that's there. And now, you also said that you read books as well. So are there any books that actually help you in your freelancing career as a content writer that you would like to recommend?
So I don't have any freelancing books per se. I
Right.
mostly read books about content and copywriting and marketing.
Right.
This is Marketing is one book I like by Seth Godin. I
Yeah.
like Cashvertising. That's one book about copywriting. And there's
Right.
another book. It's more about video marketing and content marketing. It's called Fast, Cheap, and Viral by Ashish
Okay.
Chopra. So I mean,
Right.
these are the three books I've read till now. I'm still finding time to do that. In between, I often read ebooks by social media influencers and everyone. Vanessa Lu is
Right.
one I follow. I often read her free resource material. So I mean, that's because I can't, reading a book needs a lot of time, but I make sure that
Yes.
I have at least 1 hour that I can commit to reading every day, be it through blogs or be it consuming content through YouTube videos, or like an ebook or actually a hardcover book.
Right.
It's like content consumption is important for me, not just reading a book. Content
Hmm.
in any sort of formats, because that's a part of what I do. But
Right.
if freelancers want to read up and improve their skills whatsoever in the entire aspect, then I would say reading books about time management, about
Right.
habits, about consumer psychology, about
Yes.
marketing, positioning, branding, and those specific to their domain. I mean, books are never ending, but I mean,
Yes.
for freelancers, reading about consumer psychology, selling, communications, marketing is really important, because that's a part of what you do and how you sell to clients, how you sell your packages, how you sign projects. So, I mean, these are
Right.
some books that I would highly recommend. I lag in all of that, but I'm still trying to catch up, because I mean, that's a lot of work. But, reading is definitely one thing that all freelancers should do and make time for, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And many of the freelancers have this stereotype that, you they force themselves into reading books, but then nowadays you have ebooks, you have podcasts, everything, you
Yeah.
can listen to
Yeah.
the books in the audio
Audiobooks.
form. Yeah.
Yeah.
So identify your thing, which you are comfortable with, and then take out some time for consuming content, because if you don't consume content, how will you make content? So
Exactly.
that is pretty important. And now, coming to the another main question, another main aspect of freelancing. So we mentioned about this in the first part of this video as well, that with freelancing, there's very little security that comes with freelancing, and there's always this fear of losing out on clients and having zero clients even at a point of time. So is there a way to increase your client retention rate in a way that there's I know you can't be 100% sure, but then those chances of having zero clients at least
Yeah.
comes down. So what is your take on that?
So I mean, there's just one answer I always preach for this question. It's to market your services and build your personal brand. I mean, once
Right.
you start doing that, your lead generation is practically on autopilot. Even
Right.
if you're not, very active or very, you don't have a lot of time to do that, your leads just keep on coming in, and then you can start, converting them or keeping them in the funnel or however you want it to be. I
Right.
started out just with LinkedIn in the beginning. Right now, I'm not so active on LinkedIn. I post almost less than twice a week. I try to do that. Sometimes I don't post for the entire week, but still I'm
Right.
getting leads. That's because once you build the initial foundation, you're marketing your services. You're not just writing, you're also probably making videos, you're creating content, you're talking to people about it, you're networking, so people. I mean,
Right.
that sort of personal branding and that kind of marketing is really important if you actually want to position yourself in front of your ideal customers and
Right.
attract their eyes to your content, to your profile, and to you being a freelancer of whatever sorts, right?
Hmm.
Content or copy or whatever. So I
Yes.
mean, that's something that really matters. That's something that puts you above your competitors. That's something which makes you stand out. So I mean, that's
Right.
really important, and that's even important for lead generation and you know for acquiring new clients. And also, I mean, one more thing is to retain your existing clients. If you're already working with someone, try to establish a good relationship with them. Even if
Right.
it's a one-off client, you can try upselling them with your other services, or you can keep them in the loop by checking up on them, and later just keep them on top of, like, keep your name on top of their heads, on top of
Hmm.
their minds. So I mean,
Right.
for that it's really important to build a personal brand and stay consistent with it. That's
Hmm.
one thing that can definitely keep leads coming in through the funnel or whatever. And I mean, that's really worked for me for the past 1 year. And I
Right.
mean, I've never faced the problem of not getting clients, because I mean, that's just one flow that you have. After that,
Right.
you're just getting consistent leads. You're just converting the ones you actually want. So I mean, that kind of independence is also important. You get a lot of leads and then you filter out, okay, I want to work with this person. I want to work with this
Right.
client. I want to work with this brand. So I
Right.
mean, that kind of flexibility, that kind of independence is also really good, because then you get to work for the people you like, for the kind of work that you want to do. So I
Hmm.
mean, that's all possible through personal branding and marketing your services. So I mean,
Right. So
that's
personal
something which
branding
can
plays a
definitely
very
set you apart.
important role in actually retaining clients, getting new clients, and
Yeah,
also like don't you should have a very long term vision. That's what I can info through your talk, that
yeah,
have a long term vision. Don't think of a one off project as a one off project, but
yeah.
think of it as a long term project that you can sell to them, and you can actually increase your business, your sales as a freelancer with that particular client. So
Right. So I mean, it's happened a lot of times that client, freelancers have told me that, okay, one-off clients are good,
right.
but I mean, we're not able to handle retainer clients. Like, that's what I hear a lot of the times. But I
Right.
always tell them that even if now you're not able to handle retainer clients because they have a lot of ongoing demand, a lot of ongoing requirements, you need
Right.
to keep them in the loop, because it's good for the long term. You're earning more money from one single person than working on different clients on different projects. It's
Yes.
much better if let's say your income goal for the month is 1 lakh rupees, then
Yes.
it's much better than having two clients which pay you 50,000 than having 10 clients pay you different amounts of money. So I
Right.
mean, have less number of clients and get more money and more business from them. So I mean,
Right.
retainers, and that's why I actually preach, because it's really difficult, close clients, start everything from scratch, understand the brand and all that. I find it much more easier to work with the same brand over a long period of time. It gets a
Right.
bit monotonous, it gets a bit, redundant, but I mean, that's just much better for business. That's much better for you, because
Hmm.
you're more involved in the brand, and it's much better for the client because they get to work with just one person. They don't have to go through it over and over again. So
Right.
I mean, that's why I preach retainers, and that's something that can actually benefit freelancers in monetary and in terms of exposure as well.
Yes, definitely. And I also read this quote that retention has more money than acquiring. So definitely retention is a very important aspect that all freelancers must focus upon. People who are watching this video, retention is the key for you. So that's there. And now when we are talking about freelancing, a lot of people had this question that, what is the scope of freelancing? How much can we earn through freelancing? Can we earn like equal to job or more than job, or what can we expect out of freelancing after a year? So since you have been freelancing for like almost a year, so what are your take on on this particular question?
I mean, with freelancing, sky is the limit. I mean, there's no limit to the amount of money you can earn.
Right.
There is a limit to the amount of money you can earn single-handedly as one person, as a freelancer. Yes, okay. I mean, you can only have so many projects. You can only
Right.
work for so many clients.
Right.
After a point of time, the key to earning more money is probably creating digital products. You maybe that's difficult with a job. Maybe taking on more projects by hiring maybe two people or including them in your team or something like that. So I
Right.
mean, there is no limit to the amount of money you can earn. You can earn as low as 10,000 rupees, but you can earn as high as, I mean, I don't know whatever is the maximum number, because
Right.
I mean, it just depends on the amount of time and effort you're willing to give, the
Yes.
kind of plans that you have, how far can you think, how far are you willing to go to actually make it work. So I
Right.
mean, you just have to figure out the ways to do that. Get a bunch of people in your team and take on more projects,
Hmm.
create digital products, or start doing coaching or whatever. Like, I mean, it just depends from person to person however you want it to be, but it's definitely a lucrative thing in monetary and I mean, in personal growth terms. So I mean, sky is the limit. I mean, I can't put a number to it because I've had months where I've earned you know 10,000 rupees, and I've had months where I've earned, I mean, six figures. So I mean, it
Right.
just completely depends on the amount of time and effort you're willing to put. It's uncertain because sometimes you earn less even
Hmm.
after a year, and sometimes that the next month covers for the previous month's the gap. So I
Hmm.
mean, it's a little uncertain, but then I mean, it's definitely lucrative. It's, I mean, more than a job. I don't know, probably more than a job, because I mean,
Right.
there's no limit to the amount of money you earn.
Yes.
But yeah, it, I mean, completely varies to the amount of time and effort you're willing to give to it. Yeah.
Right. And also saving an important aspect, because as you said, some months are very bad in
Yeah,
terms of
it
financial
definitely
stability.
is. I mean, in the beginning, there's a lot of fluctuation. Some months you might just earn, like, I mean, just give an example. Some months you might just earn 30,000. The next month
Right.
you earn 70,000. The next
Right.
month you earn 55,000. I mean, it just depends on how you're willing to go about it. But saving is definitely an aspect. With, if you're working from home, you have a lot of
Yes.
expenses to take care of, yes. But at the end of the day, yes, saving is really important. Even when you're starting out freelancing, I would say have a saving fund already for you, because of the first few months are a little bumpy in terms of monetary. So I
Right.
mean, that's where savings come a lot in handy. But I
Hmm.
mean, yeah, it's mostly it's sorted when you go through that path, and when you're down the lane, at least 6 months down the lane, it looks pretty sorted. But I mean, saving is a large aspect of that. I'm really bad at handling money and handling finances, but that's something I had to do, because I mean, that's not a choice that you have when you start getting money or when you start freelancing. So I mean,
Yes.
finances need to be managed, and you need to make investments, you need to save, and whatever it is. So I mean,
Right.
that's another aspect which is really something you need to take care of.
Definitely. So saving is one important aspect that all freelancers should focus upon. And people are not doing that, start doing that, because the time might just come
Yeah.
that you feel like
Yeah.
you just have
I
no
mean,
options. And yeah.
in the beginning, it's just like, oh my God, I'm getting money. Let me just spend on
Yeah.
this. But
Yeah.
I mean, after a point of time, you realize, okay, this month was not so good. Now, what do I do? So, I
Right.
mean, it's just
Right.
guilty pleasures. So, I mean, try to control that and try to save up more. But I
Yes.
mean, treat yourself once a while. But yeah.
Yes. Yes. And also going to your LinkedIn journey, so you have 60K plus followers on LinkedIn. So that's a lot of following on a particular platform. So I see a lot of budding content writers, copywriters trying to build their personal brand on LinkedIn. So based on your journey, some key takeaways out of your LinkedIn journey, some key mistakes that you would like to highlight, or some key realizations that might help those people establish their personal brand.
So, I mean, with LinkedIn, it's really important to be consistent.
Right.
It's really important to have a strategy for it. It's really important to see where you're headed for the kind of purpose you're on the platform for. If it's to build, if it's to build awareness, if it's meant to build a personal brand, or market your services or whatever, you need to have a specific plan for it and make sure
Right.
that you're consistent with it. If you just if you're on LinkedIn and if you're just posting, a post here, a story there, or maybe a comment here and a comment there, it's not going to work. It's not going to show results. You'll have to
Hmm.
be consistent for at least 90 days, and then you see
Right.
how it goes, and then you try to tweak your strategy. What I did starting out was I didn't know how the platform worked at all. Like, I thought,
Right.
okay, it must be like Facebook at that time, because Instagram was then not, I mean, I started almost 1.5 years to LinkedIn. I started
Yeah.
freelancing 1 year back,
Yeah.
but I mean, Facebook was there very, prominently at that point of time. Instagram was too. So I thought, okay, it's just like those platforms. But I didn't know
Right.
about that. So I started attending a bunch of webinars. I started reading, the ebooks or the mini guides that are available online about LinkedIn to see how people actually use that platform.
Hmm.
After that, I just created like a 3-4 step strategy for me. Okay, this is what I want to do every day. I mean,
Right.
if you even commit 1 hour to LinkedIn every day, spread throughout the day, like distributed in the morning, in the evenings, or whatever, it can
Right.
work wonders. All you need to do is post, connect with people, engage with them, and try to build a community of your own. Try to talk
Right.
to as many people as you can. So, I mean,
Right.
that's one way to go about it. And consistency is really important. If you leave it in between, it's not going to show results. If you just give up on it because it's not showing results, I mean, that's not how it's going to work. So, I
Yes.
mean, you really need to have a strategic approach to LinkedIn, because there are a lot of people trying to do that. There are a lot of similar, I mean, there are a lot of people creating similar content, having a
Hmm.
similar approach. So, I mean, it's
Yeah.
really important to be authentic there. It's really
Right.
important to have a strategy, and it's really important to be consistent, because only then can you actually see results, and you can see if you need to tweak your strategy, if you need to improve it, if you need to, scrape it off and form a new strategy. So, I mean, consistency is what I would say a lot of people lack while
Right.
building a personal brand on LinkedIn. And that's what, that's just a minor thing that if you start doing is going to show results.
Hmm.
So consistency and a strategy, definitely.
Yes, and as of what I can infer, that give your strategy some time, as you said, 90
Yeah.
days, because you won't see the results in the first 10 days. Same with freelancing, you won't
Yeah.
see the results in the first few months. After that, you will slowly and steadily start seeing results, and that is the time where you have to gear up your efforts. Paddle, you have to boost up your time that you are giving into that particular thing, and then slowly and steadily you will start getting the engagement or getting the projects that you want. So valuable insights right there, and I'm sure that a lot of people watching this will start building their personal brand after watching this video, and will actually start networking with people in the content writing field, in the copywriting field, and get to escalate their freelancing career. So that brings us to the end of this amazingly insightful podcast interview video. And I would like to know from you the concluding statements for a budding content writing freelancer. Any motivation tips, like what should be the mindset of that person when he or she is going into content writing freelancing?
So I mean, I think first of all, be authentic. I mean, there are a lot of people out there. It's really easy to get influenced. It's really easy to be, intimidated. So I mean, be
Right.
authentic, because
Right.
that's one thing that will make you stand out. And the other thing is, I mean, a lot of you see people's stories every day. You see people's journeys every day. You hear them. Talk to them, or you maybe just see them, sharing their stories and everything. It's easy to be inspired by them. It's good to learn from them, understand where they're coming from, understanding their purpose. But it's
Right.
really important to not let yourself walk in their journey. I mean, what a lot of people do is they just see a successful person, or they see a person doing good in one thing, and they want to follow their exact path step by step. I mean,
Right.
that's not the right way to move forward, because everyone has a different way of doing things. What might work for me might not work for someone else. So, I mean, it's really important
Definitely.
to, okay, learn from them, get inspired from them, get motivated by them, understand where they're coming from, and then craft your own journey, craft your own way. On social media, on, anything in the world, it's really easy to get inspired, but
Right.
and it's really easy to walk their steps. But after a
Mhm.
point of time, you realize that it's not worth walking their steps, because they have a different journey. They're coming from a
Yes.
different place. They're doing different things. So I mean, don't get intimidated. Be authentic, and craft your own story, craft your own journey, craft your own strategies. I mean, there's no harm in learning from others and observing them, but don't try to walk the same steps as them because it might lead you somewhere else. So, I mean,
Right.
try to do that on your own. So
Right.
that's what I would say.
Just be you, as Komal said,
Definitely.
and take inspiration from others' failures, successes, and give it your own personal touch, give it your own personal
Yeah,
story to it, and then lead it forward. So, thank you
definitely.
so much, Komal, for these amazing insights. These were the questions that a lot of freelancers were struggling with, and I hope that after this podcast interview, they'll be clear with those particular concepts, and they'll excel in their freelancing career. So thank you so much for taking out time. It's
Thank you so much, Rahul. It was wonderful. The questions were wonderful. I had so much fun answering them. And it was super great. So thank you so much for inviting me and having me here. It was super
it's
fun.
my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Hoping to have such insightful collaborations in future as well. So look
Absolutely,
forward to
absolutely.
that. And thank you.